often talk about the book of Ruth as one of the most beautiful books of the Bible. And yeah, there's love in it. But if we're being honest, this isn't the kind of love you see in a Hallmark movie. It doesn't start with butterflies and hope. It begins with famine, with loss, grief, hunger, and two women just trying to survive. And when we only tell Ruth as a love story, we miss out on the deeper meaning behind this book. The fact that quiet strength, faith, and obedience can make things more powerful. The book opens with famine in Bethlehem, which is ironic because Bethlehem literally means house of bread. But we see Naomi traveling back to Moab, and she loses her husband and her sons, leaving her with no protection, no certainty, and she's got her daughter-in-laws who, their husbands just have died also, and she tries to send them away. And while one just happily leaves, she's like, "Alrighty, thank you for the opportunity," and leaves. We see Ruth clinging to her mother-in-law. And I want to read a verse and see if you recognize it from somewhere other than the book of Ruth. It says, "Entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee. For whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God my God. Where thou diest, will I die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if aught but death part thee and me." You may have recognized it if you've been to a couple weddings because it's often quoted at weddings, which is ironic because here Ruth isn't committing herself to a life of love. She's committing her life to uncertainty, to a bitter, grieving old woman. She's choosing poverty and hard labor and being an outcast out of commitment to this woman. And we see a lot in here about her gleaning in the fields. So what does gleaning in the fields look like? It's important to know that it was the lowest form of provision. It was backbreaking, it was humbling, and it was dangerous, especially for women. Ruth wasn't out in the fields looking cute. She was trying to eat and survive. It's not poetic. It's the truth, and it's a hard truth for Ruth. But one of the most overlooked parts of Ruth is how quiet God can be. There's no burning bushes, there's no angels coming with announcements, no dramatic miracles. God never speaks directly in the book of Ruth. And yet, he's working. He's working through faithful choices, ordinary obedience, and small kindness. And this is deeply comforting for women today. When we address this as a book of love and we just scratch the surface, we miss out on the deeper meaning behind Ruth. We learn that God oftentimes works the most deep when life feels the least dramatic. And eventually Boaz enters the story, but not as a fairy tale hero. He's a redeemer, yes, but he's not the center of the story. God is. Boaz reflects God's character. He's protecting Ruth, he honors her dignity, and he provides generously. The book of Ruth is not about finding the right man, it's about trusting in the right God. So, why does this matter to us? Well, Ruth speaks to women who are tired, grieving, just showing up, and doing faithful work that no one's applauding. She reminds us that obedience and survival seasons still matter. So those days when you wake up and you wake up tired, you go to work, you work all day, you come home to go to sleep and wake up and work the next day, yet you feel like you can't pay the bills, things aren't going right at home. God still sees that, and God is writing something bigger than we can see. So if you're in a season that feels more like survival than blessing, Ruth is for you. God sees you in the ordinary, and he's working through your quiet obedience. And he is faithful even when it doesn't feel beautiful yet. Sometimes the most powerful faith isn't loud, it's just faithful. If this message encouraged you, I'd love for you to subscribe and stick around for next week's episode. Bye.